Hey, today I'm talking about 3 recent films featuring songs by my birthday bro, Phoebe Bridgers, and the names of those 3 movies are The Boogeyman, All Together Now, and Sitting in Bars with Cake. First up is The Boogeyman. This is a 2023 horror film, and the basic premise is this husband and 2 children are dealing with the loss of their mother, and maybe the dad isn't dealing with it the best. And then on top of it, maybe there's now a dark beast thing that's coming after them. And it's pretty solid. I enjoyed this movie a good amount. It definitely delivered on the spooks. I got scared plenty of times. I even thought to myself more than once, I shouldn't have watched this right before going to bed. Thankfully, I didn't have any nightmares. It had some really great visuals. I in particular loved this light ball that little Princess Leia would carry around with her. It led to some interesting visuals, but also they did some cool things with it. I really loved the metaphor of the film, which they pretty much state outright, and that the monster of the film is the bad things that happen to your children when you don't pay attention to them. So like the dad isn't grieving the loss of his wife well, and he's not helping his children through their pain as best as he could be, because he's just more focused on himself. So this beast that's hurting his kids is his lack of attention when they most need it. And I think that's great. That's really interesting. That's a good idea. It's done pretty well. Where I would say this movie falters a bit is the 3rd act for sure, but also there's plot line with like the previous person that this monster affected. She's very gun focused, and there's a lot of like physicality to it, like trying to shoot the beast. And I dislike that because I feel like the monster would be more scary if it's not as physically defined. I mean, like it can have a solid shape, but it would be more terrifying to not know if this thing is like actually a beast coming after them, or if this is just like a metaphorical beast that's coming after them, that it's, you know, something that's all in their head. So to like shoot it and see it bleed more so physically defines it, and then makes it a less scary thing because it can bleed, and something that can bleed can die. Plus, like, I feel like they kind of, having it be more physical puts more restraints on it, and I feel like they kind of just tossed out some of the rules with it. So I don't know, I dislike that. I don't think that quite worked right. So it did bring it down a bit, but it's a quite liked for me, so that's basically a 4 out of 5. I think everyone gave great performances. There were really solid visuals. Like I said, it was really scary, and like being scared is like the big thing you want out of a horror movie, and it really delivered. And it also had a good metaphor, which is something that is really important to me when watching a horror film, is it needs to have deeper meaning than just like, scary monster. It's like, what does a scary monster represent? And this movie delivers satisfying answers to that. So yeah, no, I definitely enjoyed this film, and I would totally recommend it. It's a good, fun, interesting, spooky time. It's a film that has its flaws, but those flaws shouldn't be enough to dissuade you from watching it. It's definitely a worthwhile experience. And next up is All Together Now. This is a 2020 film starring Moana herself, and the basic premise is she plays this high school girl who is unhoused, but she has a positive attitude on everything until one day she doesn't, and it's fine. I mean, I definitely liked the lead a lot. Her bubbliness and personality was really engaging and interesting. I think her struggles were interesting. It definitely becomes more of a melodrama, especially later in the film. I won't say exactly what happens, but like suddenly a character is no longer in the film. It's clear that they're not going to be in it anymore, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, I guess we're just dropping their whole storyline to do something completely different. I guess that's okay. And then not too long later, another character is like maybe gonna get out of this story, and I'm like, whoa, okay, this is too much. Dial it back a bit. We had a lot of emotions before any of this stuff started, and now we're just like doubling down when you really shouldn't be. We need to unpack what's already happened first. And I get why they did it, but it doesn't really work. Another thing that really bothered me is the mom. There's the beginnings of a good character. She's an alcoholic, she's she's in an abusive relationship, so you can understand how they got to be in the situation that they're in, but she really needed more refining, more like specific manipulative behaviors, better defined, and more aesthetically, she looks way too pretty and put together for an unhoused alcoholic. She doesn't need to be like the most disheveled person ever, but she definitely looks like she has a team of people put her makeup on every day and her clothes are so spotless and nice. The end definitely gets ridiculous, but there are some nice, sweet, emotional moments there. I definitely was engaged with the film the whole time, even though it was a bit absurd. And as much as I liked the lead, she wasn't the best at the more sad, emotional moments. She wasn't bad, but she needed a bit more work. So yeah, would I recommend it? I mean, this is definitely for a certain target demographic that I'm not a part of, so if you think you are, you're probably going to enjoy it more than I did, though you will most likely still see a number of the flaws within the film. I think if it looks interesting to you, yeah, sure, go for it. Just don't get your hopes up too high. Otherwise, though, it's an easy skippable one. It's not a bad film, but it's not really a go out of your way to watch type of film. And lastly is Sitting in Bars with Cake. This is a 2023 film. And if you've never seen it before, I just want you to take a second, look at this poster, look at it really well, and think about what you think this movie is about. What genre of film is it, right? It looks like a fun movie about baking. It's definitely gonna be like light and fun and all about friendship and dating or something. No, you're so wrong. It's not about that. It's about cancer, and it's a melodrama, and it does not do a good job with tone. It is just all over the place. And like the beginning of the movie is so strange because it's not really clear what it's trying to set up, because they start on this adventure of bringing cake to bars and it's not even really clear why they're doing it exactly, other than like it's fun. What they eventually kind of state is that it's there for the main character to be able to talk to boys, but like she is ridiculously beautiful, like distractingly so. This woman does not need a gimmick to get strangers to talk to her. I would almost go as far to say she needs a shield. She needs something to push strangers away from her. And part of the other thing they say is like, oh, this is meant to build confidence. And I'm like, fucking bullshit. Bullshit. She has confidence. Like, this is... No. Let's just say that they are doing it for those reasons. It feels so strange and disconnected from the rest of the film, because the rest of the film is this sad story about this full of life 20-something slowly dying of cancer. So it feels like it's trying to be both the Great British Bake Off while also being Our Friend, which if you're not familiar with that movie, that's a very incredibly sad movie about a wife slowly dying of cancer. Highly recommend it. I cried a lot. But like that TV show and that movie do not mix together. That's not a good combination. So like the premise of this film really doesn't work. Now, this is based off of a true story. It's based off a book, which I think was based off a blog, which was this woman's recounting of her life at the time from like a decade ago. So like I get that it really happened. But like as evidenced by this fun, cool poster, the filmmakers and just the entire team behind this film really didn't know how to handle the strange subject matter that is this silliness of bringing cakes to bars mixed with someone dying of cancer. I didn't put this in the didn't like because I didn't like the lead. She is very charming. I've seen her in a number of things and she's always a standout. I also like seeing Ron Livingston. He was a lot of fun in this. There's definitely a lot of interesting ideas in here, but it did not come together in a way that worked. So yeah, no, I didn't really care for this movie and I wouldn't recommend it. It's a bit of a mess. So yeah, nah. Alrighty, now for today's rankings. First up, we got The Boogeyman sitting number 76 in the quite like section. And then after that is All Together Now sitting at number 116 in the liked section. And then bringing up the rear, rightfully so, is Sitting in Bars with Cake sitting at number 139 in the meh section. This is a total of 168 old movies so far this year.